Every time you shrink, every time that you decide to take a step back from a situation or a decision or an emotion, you are self-sabotaging. And it's hard to really grasp, oh, what am I specifically self-sabotaging in? You feel guilty for having feelings. You feel sad or afraid of the decisions you're making or the ones that you never made. It's very possible that because of your self-sabotage, you're destroying your relationships, you're destroying your own self-confidence and value, and you're destroying the environment that you're in. People are not going to be holding your hand just because you're not ready to hold your own. People are not going to be there for you if you're not there for yourself first. And that's with everything. Whenever you self-sabotage, you are saying to other people that you're not ready for whatever. There was a moment in my life, when I was younger, of course, where it came to love. I would self-sabotage in love every single time. And it's only because I didn't know anything else. I was insecure. I didn't understand that I needed to be myself for myself, step up to the plate. Because the table is right here. And their plate is on the table, but my plate was not. That's a weird analogy, but it's the best that I can come up with at the time. So in all my relationships in the past, I would disassociate, or not disassociate, but hold back my emotions because I was afraid that if I was fully open, if I was fully involved in my relationship, I would get hurt. So I self-sabotaged. I said things and did things that would cause the relationship to break on its own because of my own undoing, because of my own insecurities, my own sadness, my own grief, my own fear of thinking that I could never truly be loved, that I could never truly be held, and no one can understand me, no one can be compassionate with me, no one could be anything towards me. And that was a huge problem that I had to overcome. It's not because that it is a problem in itself. It's just something that is holding you back from truly enjoying and truly having fulfilling relationships in your life, whether that is of any kind, romantic, friendship, platonic, anything, work-related, school-related, teacher-student related, anything. I would create scenarios where I would make sure that they failed. I would give small tests, which I love. Not now, but I think it's so funny that I would put these people, these friendships, these relationships through tests where I would be like, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. They like me if I do this. For example, is I would text a person online or one of my friends in real life, be like, hey, how are you? Ba-da-da-da. We'd have a great conversation. And then I would back up. The test was, if they text me back or if they decide to reach out, then they actually want to be in my life. And there is some truth to that. There is something to hold on to and to be like, okay, this is affirming that this person, this relationship, whatever the case is good for me. But if they never did, even if it was like a day or two or a week later, I would cut them off. I would sever that connection. I would ghost them. And I would never talk to them ever again because I was afraid to open up fully and to just let things settle. Friendships aren't built on day-to-day basis. They aren't built on conversations you have with every moment of your day. In fact, I would consider that unhealthy. That's not today's topic. Today's topic is self-sabotage and what you're doing about it. What are you doing that is causing you to self-sabotage? In your own emotions, in your own thought patterns, in your relationships, in how you go out and see the world. Another example is for work. You work hard and you're the best at what you do at your workplace. But for some reason, management or your job doesn't see the value in what you're doing. They don't uphold your worth that you bring to the table, your plate. And that's not okay, first of all. I validate that because I can honestly, I've been in those same situations. But you do all this hard work at work, and then all of a sudden you just cut it off. You're like, you know what? If they're not going to respect me, if they're not going to take my self-worth, if they're not going to understand what I bring and how I bring it and everything like that, then why even try? Why even try? That's self-sabotage. That's an example of work and self-sabotage. It's not because they don't see your worth. It's because you're cutting off the energy that you already give. And let's just say, for example, that when you are giving that much and putting that much into your work, that much passion, that much energy, that much discipline and motivation, and then the next day or forever from when you stopped giving your energy at work, you just stop. Your boss and everyone's going to be like, hey, what's going on? I noticed that your performance was great and actually very valuable, but all of a sudden you stopped giving it. And it only takes until that moment where you see, oh, well, maybe I guess they do see some value in me. I guess they do think that I'm good. This is all your inner work. This is everything that you portray is inside of you. The reason you stopped giving at work isn't because they didn't see your value. It's because you didn't think that they did. You didn't think that they had the understanding of your worth. And maybe they don't. But that's not up to you to stop giving. If that's who you are, if that's what you want to do, then no one should ever stop you from doing it. That is an example of self-sabotage. In relationships, let's say I create an argument where my partner doesn't see my emotions. They don't validate me. Another validation example. They don't validate me. They don't see my true worth. They don't open up to me. They don't want to see my side of the story. They don't want to hear my emotions. I'm only there for them. Ba-da-da-da-da. So what do? You self-sabotage. You create a situation or an environment or an experience where they start to see you in a bad light. And then they start thinking, wait a minute, everything was fine. Everything was great. But all of a sudden, they're acting passive-aggressive, or they won't express themselves, or they're holding back, or they're blocking me from what they already gave me. And that has to do with something about you inside as well. Everything is related. Everything is connected. Whatever you do in the external world comes from your inner world and how you perceive and view yourself. So what does that person decide to do? Well, they either try harder, which is love, but it could be toxic. There's a fine line. Or they back up, where they're like, okay, well, if this person isn't going to give me what they were giving me before, then why try? And that's where the sabotage comes in. Then all of a sudden, your relationship falls apart, and then you're mad at the other person because they decided to uphold their boundaries and standards when you never held yours. When you decided to stop giving, you decided to stop being yourself. You thought that the relationship wasn't worth it, but in fact, you create worth with the amount of energy and time you give to each other. Not every situation is going to be the same, but usually it all holds the same thread. Every situation you have has a connection, whether it's romantic or friendship or work or school or whatever the case is. Self-sabotage doesn't need to have a set term and definition, and it has to be a certain way. It's whenever you decide to start putting actions that no longer benefit or create a better future for yourself, one that you actually want. These are all situations that you wish that you could have progressed in, that you could have flourished and give growth to. But because of your mindset and because of your decisions, you started to backtrack. You started to ruin it. You started to do things that made the other person think, this isn't worth it. Why am I going to give anything else if they're not going to give anything else? For work, let's just say that you did all of that, and the very next day, you were going to get promoted. Because hard work is inevitable. No matter how bad you think you are, if you try your hardest in every situation you do, you will always be acknowledged in the long run. If you're not, it's the wrong place for you. It's the wrong person for you. It's the wrong time for you. But you will look back upon those moments and you would think, I did the very best that I could have ever done. I did everything possible to make sure that I didn't self-sabotage, that I created growth, personal abundance, personal anything. And that's because you were right. You did everything you could have done. In these moments where you start to self-sabotage, it's because you're angry, or because there's a reason, there's an emotion attached to you stopping giving your energy. And that leads back to what you were taught when you were a child. Let's just say when you were a child, in order to get validation, you had to give worth. You had to prove yourself. You had to prove yourself for love. You had to prove yourself for all of these things. But because you don't get the reward that you're used to in these toxic and unhealthy relationships and environments and dynamics, you backtrack. You're like, well, if I don't get this, then screw it all. Screw the whole plan. And that's not okay. It's something to think about, but it's not something you should just explosively do. It's not something that you should be just blinding yourself. In order to stop yourself from self-sabotaging, you have to think about, what am I doing? Is this because I want to do it and there's adequate proof? Or is it because there's an emotion behind it? It's really easy for all of us to go back into our emotions, our emotional state of being, instead of the logical, the rational side. The important part is to balance out both of them, to equalize, to become the table, not just the plate, not just the chair. You are the table. You are what others stand on, what others serve on, what others eat on. Is what I self-sabotage in, or is what I'm doing self-sabotage? How you recognize it is if it's applied, or if it comes from anger, if it comes from sadness, if it comes from any emotion that isn't grounded. You have every right to feel how you're feeling. You have every right to be angry at work. You have every right to feel sad that your relationships aren't equal, that they don't give you what you want. But instead of self-sabotaging and destroying it completely, you should be taking steps that make others aware of it. An example for school, if a friend group isn't noticing you and you decide to think, well, if they don't notice me, if I'm always quiet and if I'm never expressive and they don't actually care about me, that's a negative and toxic thought pattern. Because it's not up to them to care about you. You must present yourself. You must show yourself, express yourself. How could I care about a pencil on the table if I never use it? I need to see value in it. It needs to show me value. That doesn't mean that you should go above and beyond. There's a reason and limit for everything. But self-sabotage is something that happens within all of us, even as small as our personal daily lives. Let's say I decide to cook food and I burn the beans. So I'm like, well, screw the beans. We're not having beans today. Blah, 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 blah. You know what? Screw this whole meal. I'm going to get something else. No. You start over, or you readjust what you were doing. You just make new beans. You don't be angry that the beans were burnt Everyone makes mistakes. It's okay that things don't go your way. It's okay that situations aren't the way they're supposed to go. That's life. That's experience. That's just how the world is. In order for you to be accepted into the world, you need to present yourself into the world. And that's where it starts. That's where you start to begin, by making proactive steps, by making healthy decisions in your mind first. It always all starts in the inside. Before anyone else can understand you on the outside, you must understand yourself first. No one's going to guess for you. No one's going to care about your emotions if you never bring it up. No one's going to read your mind. It takes you to start the first domino before all the rest start falling into place. And then you'll look back and see that what you did was good for you. What you're doing is good for you. I hope that with this message today, you're able to start noticing when you self-sabotage. Again, it relates or comes from a negative or unwelcome emotion, whether that's guilt, sadness, anger, anything. If you feel like you're not getting what you should be getting, then express it. No one can tell it for you. No one can speak for you. And if anything, it should make you uncomfortable that other people speak for you. Because you are you. There's no one else like you. Then, once you recognize where that self-sabotage pattern is coming from, whether it's from your early lessons in life, the way you were taught to experience life and yourself, or from an emotion that's coming up right then and there, you want to take a moment to step back and be like, okay, wait. I want to cut this person off. I want to silence them and give them passive-aggressive treatment. But is that what I really want to do, or I feel like I need to do because I'm hurt? There's a difference. So you take that moment to reflect. And it's really hard, especially when you feel emotions. It's really hard. I just experienced this the other day where I was having to process myself on self-sabotaging. The person that I am talking to and having relations with, they didn't answer me after they committed to talking to me yesterday. So what did I do that same night? I silenced all my notifications. I cut them off energetically. I didn't block them because I'm no longer going to self-sabotage to that extent. But I did self-sabotage silently without anyone noticing, only myself. And what did they do today or the very next day? They texted me and everything was okay. I was like, oh my gosh, everything's great. Why did I even silence in the first place? Because I equated my value to their text, to their interaction. So I self-sabotaged, even just briefly, saying, you know what, screw this person. I'm not going to talk to them. In fact, I'm going to punish them for not talking to me. When in fact, it should have been the opposite. I should have communicated, hey, you seem very busy today. Or, hey, you didn't reach out to me the way you said you were going to. Taking the appropriate steps for growth, not for destruction. My name is Augustin. Thank you for being here. And this is Just Before Clarity.